The 2022 horror film Smile centers on therapist Rose Cotter. One of her newest patients, Laura Weaver, a grad student admitted to the psychiatric ward, claims she's being tormented by a supernatural force that appears through people who stare at her with eerie, unnatural smiles. Rose initially assumes that Laura is suffering from a mental breakdown, likely triggered by witnessing her professor's violent death. But during a session, Laura becomes disturbingly calm, smiling just before she dies by suicide in front of Rose, leaving Rose shaken and deeply traumatized. Following the incident, Rose starts to experience similar unsettling visions. She begins seeing strangers and loved ones giving her the same haunting smile Laura described. As she digs into Laura's past, Rose learns that Laura's professor also claimed to suffer from terrifying hallucinations before his own unexplained death, indicating that this curse might be part of a larger pattern. Rose begins sharing what she's experiencing, only to be met with disbelief, much like how she had dismissed Laura. Her supervisor, Dr. Morgan Desai, places her on leave, worried about her stability. Her fiancé, Trevor, distances himself, convinced Rose is having a mental breakdown. Rose's therapist, Dr. Northcott, believes she is repressing trauma tied to her mother's death during her childhood. Even her sister Holly assumes Rose is suffering from the same mental illness their mother battled. Frustrated and isolated, Rose lashes out at Holly for leaving her alone to care for their dying mother. With nowhere else to turn, Rose seeks help from her ex-boyfriend Joel, now a police detective. Together, they research Laura's case and uncover a string of eerie, self-inflicted deaths, all of which follow the same pattern of victims witnessing a gruesome smiling suicide days before their own demise. Eventually, they track down Robert Talley, the sole person who survived the entity. Now incarcerated for murder, Robert tells them the truth. The entity feeds off trauma and only moves to a new host if someone witnesses a brutal death, especially a murder. To survive, Robert had to kill someone in front of a bystander, transferring the curse. Rose is disturbed by the idea but begins to consider it after another wave of terrifying hallucinations. She nearly kills a patient in front of Dr. Desai but backs out, prompting Desai to alert the police. Instead of continuing the cycle or endangering someone else, Rose flees to her abandoned childhood home with the goal of isolating herself, hoping the curse will die with her. There, she confronts her repressed guilt over her mother's overdose, revealing that she had chosen not to help her. Rose faces increasingly horrific visions as the entity tries to break her will, eventually manifesting in its monstrous true form. She fights back and believes she has destroyed it, but this, too, is another illusion. Joel, realizing what Rose is planning, rushes to her house in an attempt to save her. Sadly, he arrives too late. Rose is already possessed by the entity, which forces her to douse herself in gasoline and light herself on fire in full view of Joel. In that moment, the curse is passed on to him.